Welcome into the Thunder basketball universe. Training camp is officially underway. We are recording this on October 1st. It is officially training camp season, and we have actually spent the morning up at the Thunder practice facility. We came back today, later on this afternoon, and we had to podcast just to recap everything, not just from today's first practice of training camp, but also what we took away from Media Day as well.
Yes, season 17 of basketball in Oklahoma City, NBA basketball in OKC with the Thunder. The building blocks of that began today. You know, all the talk from yesterday, Media Day, that's out of the way. Now it's the opportunity for these guys to officially get on the court with one another, and really struck me how positive and upbeat and focused the guys were today.
I agree. And let's start with Media Day, because you and I, obviously, we're all over the place a little bit in Media Day. We started the day with we had an outfit change during the day, which is like
before the guys even got there, we were already one outfit change in.
And it was for our the broadcast talent had to do our annual photo shoot just to, re-up all of our headshots and everything. But Nick, you and I were in interview rooms, and we got a chance really to sit down one-on-one with all of the guys and talk to them a little bit.
Yeah, so you all probably saw the Thunder's live stream of Media Day. That's where guys were kind of coming through and live on the air, talking to Michael Cage and Chris Fisher and Royce Young and Matt Pinto. Of course, there were tons of stations with a variety of different national and local media outlets. There was sort of the main press conference room where you probably saw a lot of the quotes come out on social media and whatnot. And then we were back in the back. We had some special little one-on-one opportunities with these players, and we're going to get to show you all some of that footage over the course of the year. Had a chance to maybe get a little bit more personal, get a little bit more insight, and tap into some of the core values of these players that really are so consistent across the board with these guys. The unselfishness, the hard work, just everything that these guys do to be community driven and oriented, and the underdog mentality that these guys have.
Yeah, so be on the lookout, because that content, it's great. The guys were fantastic in those interviews, and those will come out throughout the season. So be on the lookout, OKCThunder.com, and also OKC Thunder social channels as well. But that doesn't mean that we didn't get to see all of the fun happening throughout the arena throughout the day. And boy, was there a lot of fun. I mean, there's just such great energy all the time, and especially with this group. As you might have noticed if you watched any Thunder basketball this past season, this is a very, very fun group who's very tight-knit, very close together. And so it had a first day of school vibe. Everyone was just excited to see each other, get a chance to mess with each other again. And we saw a new look. And I have to bring it up because J-Dub surprised everybody. And I didn't see him until he walked into, he was in my interview room. And he came in and I was like, oh, hello there. I almost didn't recognize you there for a second. And I asked him, I was like, is this hairstyle staying for the entire season?
And if you haven't seen it, it was it took up a lot of space.
Think of my hair and then just add a little bit more. Maybe double it. Yeah. And I asked him, is it staying for the season? Immediately, no, I can't see anything. Yeah. And I was like, dang it, I thought I was going to have a curly hair friend for the entire season.
Yeah, to be able to attack downhill off the bounce, get all the way to the rack, to defend some of the highest level players in the NBA, you got to be able to see. I think he's going to get that under control.
I will say, having hair that moves, sometimes defensively, that can get you a couple of extra calls throughout a game. It really sells.
It flies.
It does.
I will say, it looked like he hadn't changed much today, though, for the first day of practice. So we will keep you posted on J-Dub Hair Watch leading up to game one of the preseason.
This is a developing story, certainly. We'll keep you updated. Nick, what'd you take away from Media Day?
Well, I just loved, as you were saying, the first day of school vibes. Yeah. And also that this happened here in our arena. And so it also felt a little bit like move into the dorms day in college.
Kinda.
Guys were carrying multiple different pairs of shoes as they walked in. They did their normal walk-in from the parking lot in the loading dock past our great photographer, Zach Beaker, and some of our other photographers that always get those walk-in photos on game nights. Well, these guys had their walk-in photos for Media Day too. They were bantering with the camera, all that kind of stuff. And I love seeing like guys with multiple shoes up under their arms sort of moving in for their first day of school.
Got to be ready. Got to be prepared
That's
for
right, yeah.
all photo situations and whatever uniform is going to be laid out in your locker that day. You got to make sure you have the shoes to match.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, of course, you all probably saw the great selfie videos that our social media team was able to put together. I love that as an organization, we're able to cover that day, media day, in real time. We have some thoughts about it afterwards in the week, and then we've got some stuff that we're banking for the future too. So we really try to hit you at all levels when it comes to what we get on Media Day.
And I will say, if you haven't seen all the Thunder's content that came out of Media Day, our social department did a fantastic job. There's some really, really fun stuff that the social team was able to put together. So go check that out on Instagram and on Twitter as well. Let's flash forward back to today. Let's bring it back to present day, because today was really, really great in terms of getting a chance to be back at the practice facility, but also get a chance to talk to these guys in their natural habitat, which is at that practice facility in competitive game mode, business mode. That's really kind of the vibe that I felt at the Ion today.
Yeah, for sure. We talked to Mark Daignault, we talked to Shai, we talked to Alex Caruso, and of course, there's a few little zingers that are thrown here and there, but for the most part, these guys were really locked in, focused on their craft, focused on developing as a team, and enjoying that process together. I mean, there's there's going to be a lot of ups and downs throughout the course of the season, but the foundation that they're laying right now is critical. I asked just about each of the guys, what's important to be getting done right now? And they all said the same thing, which is we have to start laying down a foundation and understand that what we do here in training camp is going to pay dividends for us down the line. And so we've got to hold each other to a standard to make sure that we're making the most of this time together.
We'll get into all of our takeaways in depth from today's practice, but season 6, it's our first Shai that again, Nick. It's time to Shai that again. We got some great quotes from practice today. And so, Nick, I will let you go first. What are you Shaiing again?
Well, it's Shai who's Shaiing it. I'm not even going to try to make you guess. We got to use the namesake of the game on day 1 of the season. And Shai said today, we competed and we were composed. Yeah. And so what it sounded like is there were 4 different teams, about 20 guys here in training camp.
It was a large group. It was a lot of people in there.
Yeah, and teams are able to expand their rosters a little bit during the training camp period just to make sure that guys are fresh, they can get up and down and scrimmage. And it sounded like they scrimmaged a lot today and sort of worked on some core fundamentals. And one of those fundamentals is being competitive. Yeah. And the other thing was that Shai said was being composed. And for a good reminder for everybody that this is still going to be one of the youngest teams in the NBA. Yep. And so to be demonstrating those types of signs early on is something that obviously the team wants to see out of each other, and fans, of course, would love to hear that too.
And obviously this is get down to business time. This is work time because that first preseason game, it's on Monday. So there is a finite amount of time to really get a chance to actually be in the lab, get a chance to, recenter yourself on all of the things that you want to set as a foundation for this team moving forward, set yourself up for success, things that are going to sustain you throughout an 82-game season. And so it was really cool to hear from Shai that this group is putting that business-like approach front and center. And they're having fun. They're the same guys that they always have been, very light, but they're about business, and this is business time right now.
No doubt about it. Who stood out to you in terms of having a good quote either today or yesterday?
I'm going to choose a guy from today, and I'm going to say the quote. I'm sure you'll get it, and play along at home because I'm sure you'll get it as well. There are a lot of.
Was this Mark? Was this Shai? Or was this Alex?
Exactly.
Caruso?
You had 3 choices. 3 choices. There's always a learning curve when you go into a new organization, a new team. I think the thing for both of us is that we both play really hard. And when you have that as your base and your foundation, the rest of the stuff will fall into place.
Paris, this is ironic. I literally just tweeted this quote out right before we came up here to the studio. I made you and our producer, Matt Bishop, waiting because I was tweeting this stuff out from practice. And this is Alex Caruso.
It is Alex Caruso.
Yeah, I think there's always a learning curve when you go into a new organization, a new team. I think the easiest thing for both of us is that we both play really hard. And when you have that as your base and your foundation, the rest of the stuff will fall into place.
and I love that he pointed this out because there is a level of humility from both him and Isaiah Hartenstein, recognizing that there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for both them and the organization. At the end of the day, while these are very, experienced players who have played in high stakes games and played for multiple teams, this is all new. This is a new organization. These are new people, new system, new team. And so there's going to be a learning curve with this. And for all of us, we're really excited that they're part of this organization, but we do have to create that perspective of these are new guys and they're learning. They're excited too, but it's gonna come with a little bit of a learning curve here. And Alex really set that perspective well.
And even the players that have been here, they're evolving and they're changing as well.
Exactly. So it's not a static process and it's not always easy, but that's what training camp is for. And these guys are getting great reps. And it sounded like these guys are learning very, very quickly. I mean, Alex talked about today that, he learned just how big Isaiah Hartenstein actually is. He got hit by a couple of those screens and he was like, oh boy, okay, this is a big guy who set some really good screens.
He also got a taste of J-Dub's quirkiness. He said that there were some things that J-Dub said that just made him shake his head and be like, oh, okay, all right, great. I mean, he laughed about it. He's like, but I wasn't expecting that. And he also Alex Caruso mentioned the booming voice of Jay Will. And he had some really high praise for Jay Will, basically saying like, this is a guy who I think has immense potential because of his ability to communicate and quarterback the defense in that way, and also command that presence on the offensive end, kind of playing out of the high post. So some really positive things from Alex in day one, and a great understanding of something that Sam Presti talked about last week, which is for these new guys, as they're trying to build continuity, it's more about, not trying to speed things up, but making sure that they're not getting bogged down and slowed down.
Right.
And to that point, Alex said, it's just about playing hard.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of Alex, let's move into our big takeaways from today in particular, because Alex was one of the bigger takeaways, not just because of the things that he said, but also what was said about him today. And particularly, there were a couple of fantastic quotes that, were honorable mentions for Shai that again today, from Mark and from Shai about Alex. So if you remember, obviously, Alex started his career with the Oklahoma City Thunder organization with the OKC Blue, coached by Mark Dagnall way back in the day. And so
things really full circle here.
Really
kind of
full circle.
Make you have whiplash.
And so, Mark was asked, what was it like getting a chance to actually coach Alex again? And he was like, it's great to finally get this guy under control. I just thought said it so straight faced, but then obviously he was completely joking. He said it was really great to have him in the building.
And to your point, and to the quote that you picked as well for Shai that again, I mean, Caruso now does have experience playing for multiple different organizations. He was here with the Blue. He turned around pretty quickly from that experience to be in a significant role on an NBA champion team in the LA Lakers in the bubble. And then, he goes to Chicago and has a totally different experience for a few years. Now back here to OKC. That is sort of a full circle NBA experience that he has under his belt. And as Mark said, now we got him corralled and back here in OKC.
And then Shai also had some great things to say about our guy, Alex Caruso, when he was asked, what is it like actually being on a team with Alex Caruso versus playing against him? He said, it's the exact same, annoying as hell. Defensively, just
dealing with him.
Is pesky.
With the ball. Yeah.
He is obviously a tremendous defender. And so Shai was like, I'm glad this guy's on my team now.
And that's awesome that there can be some of that gentle, playful, fun ribbing that's happening already with these guys. And that's something that Alex himself pointed out about his Thunder teammates, basically just saying these guys make it so easy because everybody's got their heart in the right place, great intentions, and it makes it really easy to build relationships with them already. And so I think that above everything is kind of the takeaway from it. Mark said there's got to be a body of work before you have any real takeaways. They're in observation mode right now.
Yeah.
But what they can do in the meantime is play hard and be there for each other, play for each other. And that's what Alex is feeling so far.
Nick, I want to get your perspective because obviously we learned a lot about Alex. We talked to Shai. We talked to Mark. What was another big takeaway for you today?
I loved hearing what they had to say about Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yeah.
And just the understanding that this is a guy that's big. Caruso made that point many times.
Yes, he did.
That, he is a guy that is going to be able to deliver some great screens.
Yeah.
Shai really was effusive in praise about Isaiah's connecting ability, the ability to make the next play. He loved the way that Isaiah played in the pocket today and just made that next extra pass, of course, rebounded and was physical as well. But this is a new dimension that this team was able to add. Sam Presti last week said, we would have wanted to add Isaiah Hartenstein even if he was 6'5", let alone 7 feet tall.
Right.
So there's a great sort of addition to this group in terms of a skill set that actually matches the skill set of these other players, but with some variety in terms of the size.
Which is exactly kind of right on par with what the Thunder is looking for organizationally and the type of guy that they want, the type of basketball player that they want. So it was really cool to hear about that. I also love, we've heard it multiple times now throughout Media Day and even today, J. Will's name coming up in terms of the energy that he's bringing to practice, the voice that he has out there on the floor. And Alex was like, I'm encouraging him to be even more vocal because that's just such a big strength of his. I just thought that was really cool to hear coming into this season that J. Will has kind of made that impression already so early on.
And that was another topic of conversation too, is just the sheer volume of players that can do so many of these different things. And J. Will being one of them at the center position, that this is a team that every single player can shoot the ball, they can pass the ball, they can defend, and they can, be a great connecting player in terms of being able to move the floor from one side to the other, to move from defense to offense, from offense to defense. And those multi-skilled players, you need every single one of those guys when it comes to trying to win at the highest level.
Exactly. So some amazing takeaways from practice today. The good news is that there's practice every single day this week, leading up to the Thunder leaving on Sunday to head out to San Antonio for their very first preseason game. So there will be lots to cover. I'm sure we will get some really, really awesome intel that we'll be able to share with you when we're back next week.
Yeah. So hard to believe that we're less than a week away from the first actual preseason game of the year. It's actually a pretty cool schedule. The Thunder has a stretch of 3 games and 4 nights next week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then they basically have almost an entire week off from games after that.
Right.
And then they have a set of game, day off, game. Which those 2 stretches really mimic real NBA work weeks.
Which is what you want.
Exactly. And so just pay attention to that and sort of how the Thunder handles that. Of course, they're not going to be playing guys their like normal rotation minutes for all 5 of these preseason games, but really cool to see how the Thunder handles their business starting down in San Antonio, which obviously will be a really exciting thing to watch those 2 young teams going up against each other. I say young, but the Spurs have Chris Paul now. So really sort of balancing out that average age. But of course, we know everybody here in OKC loves Chris Paul and what he did for this city in that one year that he was here, the way that he helped mentor Shai. And should be really fun for those guys to kind of get back together again. And hey, those are 2 really competitive organizations.
And I'm really interested to see what that dynamic looks like out on the floor for San Antonio and what the Thunder rolls out to try to, neutralize that. That'll be really, really fun to watch. And I can't believe it is only a week away. That is crazy to think about. But until then, thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up and catch you later.